guys so much for tuning in. This is Yaya Diamond, and you are tuned into Dream Chasers Radio, where I interview all kinds of people going after their dreams, their hopes, their goals, authors, musicians, entrepreneurs, people, okay, just like you and me. And I have Mr. Burl Minnis on the show today. I'm so very excited to have him, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, okay, so I always ask the first question. And the
Sure.
first question in my show was always like, how did you know you were going to do this? Were you a writer? Were you a teacher? I mean, how did you know that this was going to happen, or did you even know?
It was a pure accident. I got to tell you, I went to Rutgers, right? So I'm an alum, and they send you tickets, for various types of things. And in 2003, the Dalai Lama came to speak at Rutgers University in East Brunswick, and it was on war, peace, and reconciliation, right?
Mm.
Well, I'm prior service, so I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I probably want to check this out. And my girlfriend was like, is this a trick question? Of course we're going. So, I ended up going there. And one of the things, I mean, among all the things that he said, because if you ever get to see His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, if you ever get to see him, I heartily recommend it. And, among some of the things that he said was that if world peace were going to happen in our lifetime, it was probably going to come out of the United States. And I kind of took that to heart. I mean, it could have come from anywhere else at any other time, but he just said it was probably going to come out of the U.S. So,
Wow.
I like to do research. It's kind of a hobby of mine, and I started into it. I waylaid into it, and it took about 9 years, and I finally solved for it, and that was in December of 2012. So
Wow.
I wrote it up real quick. I started sending it to everybody, literally everybody, with an email. And it went to world leaders. It went to the powers that be world over. It went to the judiciary of everywhere. It went to like 11 universities in Europe, 9 in the United States. And it had one direction. That's it. Just one simple instruction. Poke holes in it. It came back irrefutable and undeniable. So now I'm like, okay, well, great. So now I've got to get this thing together in a book. I put it together for the International Criminal Court. So I tried to make this as easy as humanly possible for everyone. But people of Earth, hear me. This is not a book launch. This is not a joke. This is world peace, and the International Criminal Court is expecting our correspondences. Read this and then do it, or don't do it, but make the decision because it's what you want to do. It is quite literally world peace, and everybody else said this stuff. They're in my bibliography. It's why it's irrefutable and undeniable. I didn't have to research. I didn't actually have to do any of it. All I had to do was the research. It was abundant, So basically, I cobbled it all together. I provided it to them every February for the last 10 years. And they've actually made ready a portal that you can do submissions under Article 15 of the Rome Statute for crimes against humanity and war crimes. You can make submissions to them. They used to have this email server, which just wasn't going to do. That's like 350 million hits and you're down. This is going to require 4.1 billion plus one just to get a majority vote, and it's counting on everybody to chime in. Even the world leaders can do nothing about it. Just in the United States, there's like 519,862 elected officials, right, at the local, state, and federal level, across the executive, legislative, and where applicable, the judiciary, because most of those guys are appointed, yeah? But we're like 520,000. That's not a majority. They can't do anything for us. We have to chime in. So that's why this book had to come out. That's why everybody's got to give it a read at least. You can chime in if you want or not. It's up to you. But that's world peace. And it's so far everybody who's seen it, all the authorities and everyone who's seen it, and everybody who appears in the bibliography itself, hold it to be irrefutable and undeniable. Nailed it. And everybody else said this stuff, not me. So, yeah, I ain't smart.
Wow. So okay, so you at one point you described world peace not merely as a book, but as an assignment for humanity, right? And
Correct.
a peace isn't a dream, but a decision. How
Correct.
how can one person make that decision and truly help change the world?
That's an outstanding question. That is an absolutely outstanding question. It's actually incumbent on all of us. The way this happened to us was by accident. So it's the first industrial accident of man, predating the wheel and the plow by like 7,000 years. So prior to 13,000 years ago, we had a unilateral egalitarianism, right?
Hmm.
We had an equitable distribution of birthrights, basically potable water, biogenic elements, your groceries, the ability to raise fire, generate energy, right? Those three things are all that humans need to exist everywhere in the universe. Eliminate even one of those, and we can't even exist here, and we're all from here. This was an industrial accident that happened to us. We had to come up with a way of maintaining that unilateral egalitarianism, that gifting system of economy that we had. You look at any of the megalithic architecture the world over, right? Gobekli Tepe or Karan Tepe or any of those places, and you'll find flora and fauna that are not indigenous to that region. You
Mm,
know, paleontology has taught us this. Archaeology has taught us this. Literally everybody else has been saying this stuff, you know? And we were gifting to keep ourselves alive because the planet was trying to kill us for at least, since the Ice Age started 115,000 years ago. Yet
yeah.
we lost Homo erectus 5,000 years into that Ice Age. And he's the guy who gave us fire, you know? We lost Homo heidelbergensis. We lost Homo rudolfensis. We lost Floresiensis, Enleti, Denisovan, even Neanderthal was gone by 50,000 years ago. And all of these guys were participants in this unilateral egalitarianism. This is the way humans roll. We are not the killers. We are not the mindless automatons that we perceive ourselves to be through Hollywood and all that stuff, right? They're the kinder, the gentler, the more decent human beings, right? They're the rational, reasonable, right action type of human beings. That's the majority of humans on Earth. And this accident happened, and we had to create a symbolic type of economy, right?
Mhm,
The commonly agreed upon value economy. And
mhm,
that's what did us in because we never turned it off.
hmm.
So it has to be each of us individually that chimes in for this. Otherwise, world peace is never going to transpire.
Wow.
We're going to keep believing that we can throw fiction at reality and expect a positive result. And it's ridiculous. We murder millions every time fictions fail. And it's the organized and the institutionalized ideology that goes, right? Because we do ideology, right? All humans do, right?
Right.
My
Mhm.
house, my rules, young man. You
Right.
know, yeah.
Mhm.
So we all do that, and no one can tell you how to think any more than they can tell you what to feel. Your ideology is yours. You can have it. It's fine, right? But the organized and the institutionalized type, that just murders millions. And it happens literally every time you throw fiction at reality and reality slaps the snot out of it. And it just evidences that you know futile attempt by murdering millions.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Okay, so is world peace a is world peace an assignment for people?
Yeah. So basically, what happens, right? So I've been talking with the International Criminal Court on this, right? So they've been seeing this now for 10 years. Every February, they get a release of the draft, right? This is the final product. This is much nicer, by the way. My editors did a great job on that. They actually made me seem smart, and nice. And neither of those are true.
Oh my
So, I worked with the court on this, and basically what happens is this we read this assignment and then we chime in, right,
Mm,
through their portal. They collect up the numbers and they go to the court, right? So the prosecutor's office then goes to the court and says, the reasonable right action human beings have chimed in, and this is world peace. Maybe you want to go see the UN about picking a day, and the court will then go to the UN. Reason being the soul of law, the reasonable have spoken. We need to get this done, and the International Criminal Court picks a time, midnight tonight, and we just deem organized and institutionalized ideology to be crimes against humanity and war crimes. You
mm,
can't have war without politics. You
mm,
can't have trash without money, right? And both of those have killed us. We're extinct now. So we just stop doing that and we start working at the rational, reasonable, right action, advanced problem solvers that we always were, the kinder, gentler version of human, the mind your manners and you keep your friends type of human, the live and let live. Because the silent majority aren't silent because they've got nothing to say. They're just silent because they don't say nothing, you
mm,
know? And that's the way it's been for eternity. They're the go with the flow types, you know? We've got this thing we're working on. Ideologues can do what they want to do. We're working on this. Have fun, live and let live, all that kind of stuff. They just don't say nothing,
wow.
and the majority still have to wade through the money economy ideology, that organized ideology. Everything is about who's going to pay for that, or where do you think we're going to get the money for that, or do you know how much that's going to cost? Well, if money is your problem, get rid of your problem. It's certainly not my problem. This is the challenge. That's the solution. We're going that way, and it's the majority of humans on Earth. And if it's not majority rule, then what is it?
Mm,
If money is the problem, and it always has been, then get rid of your problem. It's a very simple process. It's 6 words, actually. Set all general ledgers to zero, right? And ultimately, that's the assignment. The UN gets to pick the day so that we can broadcast in one voice to the entire universe. This world is finally at peace, and in as many languages as have an emergency broadcast system, and we just pick a day. Institutionalized and organized ideology are crimes against humanity and will cease and desist immediately. You
mm,
know, you still have all the structures in place that we always had, just in time inventory systems and supply chain and all this mechanized everything that we have right now. We still have. Money doesn't do anything,
yeah.
but you remove it and all other ideology dissolves right along with it, because the only purpose for them is to make money. There's no other reason behind it. And that's pretty much the assignment. You just pick a day and put a zero there. No advanced accounting, no actuarial gymnastics, no reconciliation whatsoever, right?
Mm,
We're walking away. So you just put a zero there and never worry about money again.
wow.
It's literally that simple.
That'd be great.
And a lot of our problems go along with it. Like if we're talking about unity, we're not actually going to get unity out of world peace. That's not actually what happens. But the vast majority of all the problems that we have are just symptoms of one problem. And
Mm,
once that one problem is eliminated, world peace.
hmm. Wow. Wow. Okay, so what made you realize this? What made you realize that the very systems humanity lives under, like ideology, money, and power, might be destroying us? And why is this message so urgent right now?
Well, yeah. So this survey is a 300,000 year survey of world peace. So it's everything that was ever endeavored in the area of world peace for 300,000 years, and that's
Mhm.
been the entire existence of Homo sapiens.
Right?
So looking at it, we can see that there is absolutely no evidence of homicide in the archaeological record prior to 13,000 years ago.
Mm,
Yet since the advent of money, because the planet burned 12,900 years ago, and that took our potable water, our biogenic elements, our ability to raise fire. It took all of that out. and that's extinction for us. So we had to come up with something drastic, and we came up with money.
Hmm.
Name one other thing in the universe that inspires greed in man besides money.
Stuff
Nothing.
that equals money.
Yeah. You can say that people are greedy for power. Power is egomania. It's not greed. You can say that people are, greedy for celebrity or status. That's narcissism. That's not greed. Greed exists uniquely among our species simply because of monetary economy, and that's the organized ideology. That's what falls under the organized ideology umbrella. Institutionalized ideology, that's all politics, and you can't have war without politics. Humans don't
Right.
do that. Show me any evidence of war prior to 8,100 years ago.
Mm.
Now show me any ever since the advent of the first ideologue government, you know? So only ideologues kill, basically, whether it's institutionalized or organized ideology, and that's just a minority interest. Nobody does ideology the planet wide. You look at all participation rates. Like tonight, there is an election in New Jersey for governor. Take a look at the total voter turnout at the end of this election and the one for Virginia also. Look at the total number of participants for anybody in that election. Just sum up all the participation by everybody for governor, and then take a look at the total number of citizens in each one of these states. It's never more than 40%.
Mm.
Never more than 40% go out and do anything, even for presidential elections. It just doesn't happen. We don't do ideology, right? I've never once heard someone ask, what's your ideological bent on this? Or what's your ideology? We'll ask your opinion, because opinions are somewhat predicated on facts, right? You hope that they are.
Right.
We'll even ask you your prejudice. Do you want cream and sugar with your coffee? We'll go. Nobody has ever said, "What's your ideological bent on this?" That's the stuff
Right.
you keep to yourself, right? That's an electioneering industry that makes it seem as if it's relevant. It makes it seem as if it's important. But the rational, reasonable, right action goes this way. Ideology never solved anything, right? It's fiction. It can't. It can provide no evidence. Like theology doesn't require any evidence. It's faith. Ideology can never provide any evidence. It's pure fiction, and
Mm.
it's really just a money making scam, because the first ideology was money. It saved us. Yay, we're here. We
Mm-hmm.
never turned it off, and we couldn't because of greed. That was an unexpected, unintended consequence, and we couldn't turn it off. And that's really the first place that I found the keystone in the system of all human misery. So as I was doing the research, I'm like, wow, this stuff is systemic. Every problem that you might point a crickety finger of vile disdain at is really just a symptom of a single problem. And that whole thing is systemic, right? And then this guy, Robert T. Payne, back in 63, I think it was, he was a zoologist. He's the guy who discovered the keystone, right, in systemics, right? So in the study of systemics, everything has a keystone. And now every system has got one. It's kind of like discovering planets, you know. As soon as you know how, they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing with systems. As soon as we know how to find the keystones, they're everywhere. And this just happens to be the keystone in the system of all human misery, and it's money. Set all general ledgers to zero, and just like that, world peace. Everything. And we are the generation that will have it the toughest, because we know of these things now. Future generations will not know what greed is.
Mm.
They will not know the divisiveness of ideology. And ideology requires divisiveness. There has to be a them and an us, or ideology doesn't work. There has to be a haves and have nots, or ideology doesn't work, right? So there has to be divisiveness, and that's caused by ideology, right? Humans don't see that. We are the family of man. And this is so urgent right now because we're the family of man.
Yeah.
We went extinct 150 years ago. And if we're ever going to be the greatness that our gods that imagined for us, whomever it is you hold God to be, by whatever name it is you call God, if we're ever going to attain that level of greatness, you know, we got to stop doing the foolishness. We got to pack out our trash and we got to come in for the big win together because we're taking 97% of all life with us when we go.
Mm.
And if you subscribe to the Carl Sagans and the Steve Hawkins and all the authorities on the matter, we've got between 200 and 600 years left. And
Mm.
really, that's the outside most. Most of them are saying between 200 and 400 years left. You do this, I'll get you 1,000, guaranteed. And you can put a bullet in my head if I don't.
Oh my God. Say
Guaranteed.
that.
This is 1,000 years. And
Uh,
it's simply a matter of packing out our trash and making this planet habitable for the 3% that survives us. Because that 3% is not going to be like multi-celled organisms like cockroaches or rats or whatever else. Tardigrades won't make the cut. It's
mm.
going to be amoeba, protozoa, bacteria. We're going all the way back to formula. The toxicity of the human footprint, right, has gotten to such an extent that we have probably extinguished life on this planet. Even if we all get together, even if we pack out our trash, even if we terraform Earth, when we go, that last 3% might only last another 800 years, if that. By 4,000, there'll be no life in the universe. So
Oh,
it's kind of urgent that we start right now. This is
yeah.
important. This is not something to be shrugged off for somebody next year. This is something that we've been extinct over 150 years already, and we haven't done anything about it. Name one thing that ideology ever solved, ever.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly. How about money? You can't have trash without money. Get me my money. Get me my money, right? Product to market. It's time to market, right? And they crank out trash after trash after trash with the hopes that they'll just fix it in new releases or whatever. It's like Steve Jobs said, right? The little box of garbage when he was talking about computers. Corporations will never let you produce what you have in here, right? We will never be any better now than ideology permits us to be. And we're way better than that. We landed on the moon without a computer. In
Yeah.
fact, the computer failed while we were landing, and we still landed. You know, we shot two probes into space that made it all the way to the edge of the solar system and are now in deep space
Yeah.
without computers, you
Mm.
know? And we'll never be any better now than computers. We've never been back to the moon because computers won't let us be any better. And that's the same way with ideology. We will never solve anything using ideology. It's not possible. It's fiction made seemingly real by rules or tools or codes of law. And you
Mm.
have to wonder what those codes of law look like, considering reason is the soul of law. And there's been no human reason for at least 13,000 years. That's all been pushed to the wayside in favor of ideologue stuff, ideology. And that can't solve anything because it requires divisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And, solving anything usually falls flat on its face in the wake of divisiveness. So it's important now that we do this because we don't have much longer left. And it's going to be an enormous undertaking. And the 60% of the majority who don't do ideology can't do it alone. So
Yeah.
everybody needs to come in for the big win. And
Mm.
there's no persecution, no prosecution, nobody's in any trouble. Read the assignment, chime in. Once the majority has said this is the way we roll, everybody comes in for the big win. And no hard feelings. Nobody knew this until I said it. So what are you going to do, right? I
Wow.
mean, we get a chance to redeem everybody who came before us, right? All the, if you can be made to believe absurdities, you could be made to commit atrocities, and we have. We've murdered billions in 13,000 years over foolishness,
Yeah.
over fiction, you know?
Mm.
All of those folks are redeemed. We exonerate ourselves, right? We are completely exonerated from any crimes against humanity or war crimes because we elected to be free. you know?
Mm.
And everybody who comes after us, they're absolved. They'll never know this. Our children will never know what greed is. They'll never know what divisiveness is. They'll never know the child abuse. Every 5-year-old knows the marshmallow test now. That constitutes child abuse. And nobody will know that stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody will see that stuff. It'll all be the kinder, gentler, more decent version of human. Think bonobo, not chimpanzee. You know, and that really is the way everybody rolls. That really is the way humans get on. We mind our manners, we keep our friends, we live and let live. When in Rome, we do as the Romans do, right? It's pretty much go with the flow,
Mm.
right? And that's the way humans prefer to work. That's the way they prefer to cooperate, and cooperation is best when we do that.
Mm. 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 I have one more question for you.
Yeah, hit it.
And I think this is like one of the ones that I really think need to be answered. I mean, to the best of your ability and your knowledge,
Yeah,
and
sure.
to your book. What happens if the world ignores this assignment
We go on the same as we ever have, and we're out.
and we're
That's
out?
it. Yeah,
One, you
we're
said,
done.
was it 400 years tops?
Tops, outside most, 400 years.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
we cannot recover from anything external, right? We can do our internal stuff okay, just the same way we have been doing. But
Hmm.
if there's any external influence, which is highly likely, it will collapse all of our systems that we currently have in place. And we can't do anything now without money.
Mm.
It's all about money. It doesn't matter if it's a good idea, it's about money. And you can't have trash without money, so we'll continue to have trash. We can't have war without politics, so we'll just continue to have war. And eventually there won't be enough of us, that will have killed us all off. I mean, we're the family of man now, right? We are all of us siblings. Literally everybody on the even the Aboriginals that are 60,000 years old, they're still our siblings. We
Yeah,
go back 168,000 years ago to mitochondrial Eve, and 225,000 years ago to Y chromosomal Adam.
that's
And
it.
everybody now is literally a sibling,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when we go, that's going to be all of us. That's going to be everything. And we can all come in for the big win as the kinder, gentler, siblings, and treat each other as siblings instead of looking for divisiveness and looking for, something to set us apart, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, so it's if we do nothing type of situation, it's life as usual. But
Mm.
if we do this, it's life as usual. It's
Right.
just nothing changes for us. Your receipt just says 0.00, you know? No
Mm.
money. If you need it, go get it, right? It's not like we aren't already making it and nobody gets paid first and works later.
Right.
Everybody does the job first. That's
Mm.
the needful thing. That's the only reward that a human needs. That second reward, right? That's the egomania. That's the
Mm.
presumption that you should get two rewards for having done any one thing, when the needful thing is the only reward that a human needs.
Wow.
When you look at any kind of a motive, any kind of impetus for human endeavor, its motive means opportunity, right? Those three
Mm.
things. You know the old saying, you don't pay the ferryman until you get to the other side?
Mm.
That's a proposition, right? The motive is clear. There's a river in the way, right?
Yeah.
The means is clear. There's a guy with a boat, and the opportunity is you or anyone else needing to get to the other side. Money didn't enter into that conversation anywhere.
No.
It is not needed. It does not do anything. It's just accounting. That's it. And it's all implied wealth now anyway. It's called commonly agreed upon value, right? And
Wow.
that that agreement changes its value by the millisecond. Money changes literally its value by the millisecond. So there's no commonly agreeing upon anything. You know, it's a fiction. We force the nonsense to make sense, right?
Hmm.
And when the ferryman rows you across the stream or whatever, right? That's the needful thing to be. That's the only reward that a human needs is doing the needful things, right? You don't need that second reward. That's all egomania. That's all, how greed exacerbates other mental maladies already, existing in man. Egomania and narcissism are two that I cover in the book, but
Mhm.
there's a ton of them. And greed just makes all of them that much worse. Once greed is gone, we automatically become a kinder, gentler version of human. And we see it in nature all the time. I mean, it's not just human; it's everywhere.
Mhm.
So yeah, the assignment is just to chime in or not, And if you don't, things go on the same as they ever did. And if you do, things go on the same as you ever did. But I'll get you 1,000 years.
Mm. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, wow. Well, people are just gonna have to go ahead and check out the book. I put the website in the description box underneath
Oh
here.
yeah. Thank you.
So there
I
it is.
see that. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
theworldpeacecouncil.com.
and if anybody asks, that council is all of us. It's everybody. It's the last iteration of the human species in the family of man. That's each and every one of us. We become the council on world peace. We don't answer to constructs. We don't answer to contrivances of the human imagination that solve nothing. We do the rational, reasonable, right action, and we all come in for the big win with
Yeah.
a specific mission: pack out our trash and terraform Earth first. Because
Yeah.
when we go, you know, if we're ever going to espouse any greatness about ourselves or anything that might have been imagined, it's incumbent upon us to do this.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And I agree with you. Definitely. If we don't do something right away, we're going to kill each other.
Yeah, for real.
Which doesn't make any sense. I mean, all of us really, truly, what we do want is peace. I mean, ultimately, I know that you're my brother. Maybe
Exactly.
we like
Yeah, and
certain,
you're my sister.
right.
Why?
So, color, location,
Right.
all that, where you come from, doesn't matter because
The
we all
genome
come
is the
from
same.
one
Yep.
one
And
person.
that's the reason for our extinction too, Yaya. It's that we it's a genetic threshold that we cross. Once we have the same mom and the same dad,
Right.
that's it. The tide pool is officially closed, right?
Right.
There's no more infusion of new genetic material into the gene pool. That's closed now, and
Hmm.
that's extinction. That's what begins extinction, based on the junk that we have to suffer through, and the war that we have to suffer through, the flagrant murder of millions to suffer through. I side with Hawkins. I side with Sagan and tops 400 years. There are those that'll say 600 years. Okay,
Hmm.
possibly not anywhere near 1,000. And do this, and I'll get you 1,000.
Wow. Well, the website is theworldpeacecouncil.com. And I'll also put that in the description box so you guys can go and check that out. And it's so cool that you say that. Remember that we are all related and that we are all brothers and sisters. And if we love each other like you would love your close brothers and sisters, your
Yeah,
immediate family, you should love us too. No matter what
exactly.
color, no matter where we're from, no matter what, I am your relative.
Yeah. And we are all of us competent, capable of exactly the same things. All we have to have is that opportunity. And money only stands in the way of that. Ideology only ever stands in the way of that. Every misery you might imagine in your life, I guarantee, at its core is money standing in the way of you succeeding or doing it or having it or making it or whatever. And it's even like Steve Jobs said, man, little boxes of garbage because of a corporation, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And they don't need to exist. They don't have to exist. They're money making tools, and that's
Yeah.
what they do. They pursue money and
Mm.
they walk the land with impunity because, we bestow upon them rights and privileges and liberties to make us money.
Huh.
It's all about greed. And,
Wow.
all the interests of humans go by the wayside, when it comes to, this ideology stuff. And it's never going to solve anything and it's never going to improve anyone's life.
That's right. It's not. It really isn't. It hasn't done anything for me.
It hasn't done for me either.
It's
And
just
dude,
made
I
things
dumped
harder.
everything into this. I literally dumped everything into this to bring this to you. This is not for me. This is not making money. This is not a book. This is not a joke. This is not. It's not even a vote. It's an assignment. Do
Mhm.
it or don't, but make that decision because it's what you want to do. I
Right.
made it as simple as is humanly possible. I dumped my entire life savings into this thing, and it's 99 cents. You
Wow.
know, I don't even want to sell it to you, but we can't do it for less than 99 cents. I'm trying to give it to you,
Right.
literally. So by
Wow.
all means, please read it. At least do that. And there's a GoFundMe page if you want to check any of this out. It's World Peace Research, right? World Peace Research on the GoFundMe page. I
Mhm.
got all the numbers broken down. It's like 180 grand a year, and I've been working on this for 20 years. So literally, my retirement's gone. Everything is gone. But this is world peace. It's not a joke. It's not supposition or speculation or anything ethereal. It's everything in this is flat fact. And
Wow.
everybody else said it, not me. It's yours. Have
Wow.
it.
So
Good
it's
luck.
world-peace research.com
World Peace Research on the GoFundMe page.
on the
So it's
Go.
like GoFundMe and
Okay.
then World Peace Research or whatever. I think you can search the GoFundMe site for that. But
Okay.
yeah, you'll see it. I got it all broken down for you there. It's pretty cool.
Okay. So we'll definitely, you guys can go to the GoFundMe World Peace Research, and you can check that out for yourselves, or you can go ahead and go to the website, which is the worldpeacecouncil.com. We're going to have both of those things in the description box, so it'll be easy for you
Okay.
to find it, and that way they can, they can get it. I mean, seriously, thank you so much for what you've done and how
No,
you
my
invested
pleasure.
into all of us, your brothers and sisters, and
Exactly. And
I
I get to meet all of you guys. I got to say one more thing before we cut out.
definitely.
People of planet Earth, hear me. Thank you for my life. I kid you not. I might whine and cry about this stuff, but honest to God, it has been the absolute joy of my life. And then meeting all of you, Latin America, Asia Pacific, Central Europe, North America, everywhere, Africa, all of you guys, all of you. Thank you so much for my life. I do truly appreciate this, and I would do it again in a flat second. This has been a wonderful experience, and you guys have been great. And I appreciate you. I definitely do. I love you as my brothers and sisters.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bro, we're going to go ahead and cut out. And
Okay.
I appreciate it. Next time you want to come back on, you're always welcome.
Well,
I
thank
mean,
you.
I can't wait to hear about the story. So, guys, if you
Yeah.
have any comments or questions, I'm going to go ahead and say on YouTube, please make sure you comment or your questions below on YouTube only. That way, we kind of keep things in a good place so that we can just go to one spot and answer your questions as well as Burl. So that way, he can keep his eye on this and then he can answer any questions that you may have. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. And Burl, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so very much.
My pleasure. Thank
Thank
you.
you guys. And until next time, don't forget to love your brothers and sisters. Hey.
Yeah. There you go.
Until next time, guys. Bye.